All right, welcome to the Coaches Show. It's the 2022 version. We're getting ready for high school football week 1 in the state of Missouri. And I'm Adam Howe, your host. Alongside me, Wildcat boss head coach Ryan Boyer. Coach Boyer, welcome to the show.
I appreciate you having me back.
And Wildcats for however many months now.
Yeah.
Looking forward to week 1. That's when they were scheduled to take on the KC Central Blue Eagles up in Kansas City. But we get some news this morning.
Yeah, unfortunately, we got an email from KC Central that they wouldn't have enough eligible players for Saturday's game, so they had to forfeit it, and that's what it'll go in as. Now, I try to explain this to people, through mission, through our state governing body. Once we start practices on August 8th, any student athlete in the state in any sport has to get 14 practices, and that's in fall, that's in winter, that's in spring. And so when they're saying they don't have enough eligible players, it's because of practices. It's not an academic thing. They just didn't have enough show up to get the 14 in, and that's why they won't be eligible. So we're currently hoping maybe we can find somebody, but with it being week 1, and this
you're 2 days away.
Yes, and we're not in COVID times like we were a couple of years ago. So
yeah, not as many. You and I talked about that before coming on. That a couple of years ago, fortunately, we're used to these cancellations. You know how to handle your team. Unfortunately, like the COVID years, there were always teams looking because they were being affected by a different opponent. So there was different teams out there looking, but not the case this time.
Yep, 100%.
So yeah, like you said, hard to come up with a week 1 opponent 2 days before the kickoff. So so anyway, Wildcats canceled for week 1. Will not be making the trek to Kansas City on Saturday. So instead, they'll be looking forward to week 2 next week when they travel to Versailles. But we'll get to that one here in a bit. Again, this Coaches Show is sponsored by State Farm Insurance, Susie Broderson, Shelter Insurance, Leanne Beeman, Community National Bank and Trust, J&D Pharmacy, Pitts Homes of Warsaw, and Tracy Spry and Associates, CPA. So, Coach, with the cancellation, we're going to kind of go back to our itinerary now.
Yeah.
Kind of recap a little bit of what you saw in 2022, or the 2021 season, I guess.
Yep.
Graduated some players there, some big contributors. But at the conclusion of your 5th year at the program, what do you see? What kind of advances has the program seen through that season last year, and how do you expect to build on that in 22?
Yeah, it was obviously a special year. You don't always know that going in because I always say, teams have to come together. You have to stay healthy, and every now and then you got to have a little bit of luck go your way. And so it was a neat year last year. Great senior class, graduated some outstanding players with Slavens and McGann, but also just some of those role guys that really stepped up. Gavin Cunningham always jumps out, stepping up and playing that guard position for us. And but again, Taylor, all of them, we miss them, and they did a great job. But the thing that we look forward to was, and do look forward to, is the guys that come back. Those juniors and the sophomores, and even we had a couple freshmen that contributed. And
a lot of those guys coming back this year, and we'll get to each of them individually here when we talk about offenses and defenses, but a lot of them coming back this year with a lot of experience and a lot of playing time on the varsity field.
They did. And, offensively, stats show it. Brady carried a lot of that load, and we're proud of him. He got some all-state honors for that. But to that, all these other guys were out there. They did their contributions and did a great job with it. And then defensively, last year was Coach Miller's first year being our defense coordinator. We were fortunate to add him and Coach Kershaw, and they did a great job. Coach Kershaw did a great job with that D-line. So not only were we able to put some points up, we were also able to keep some people out of the end zone. And so, having them on for a second year, I know that's something we kind of talked going into camp, was how far ahead we were, just on both sides of the ball, just for install, where, we got our ones out there and we rep them, and they were where they needed to be, so we were able to get our 2s reps and able to grow the program. A few more kids out, kind of the progression. I know we talked a lot about it last year. We're to the point now where we've had all these kids all 4 years of high school, and now these kids that are coming in as freshmen, they've been in our youth system, been in our middle school system, and so now it's really reaping the benefits of all that, and it's just neat to see.
Yeah, and kind of going back just a step, I guess, Wildcats went through 8 straight losing seasons.
Yeah.
And that's for guys like us that have been in the program, hard for us to understand how that happened. But programs always have their ups and downs, right? So 8 straight losing seasons, but then finished last year with their 3rd season over 500, and really a coming out party at 9-2.
Yeah.
So these guys, you talk. This is where I was going with this. So you've got these guys in the program. They played at the youth level. They played in the middle school level. Now they're all getting to you at the varsity field. How do you expect them to repeat last year's success? And I think what I wrote in my preview article is they can't rest on those laurels.
Yeah.
That there's more work to be done. You don't just wake up and go 9-2 again.
Without a doubt, and that's something we talk about in the spring to all of our underclassmen. We said, last season, even though you were a part of it, that's something moving forward for those seniors to live off of, and be able to talk about down the road and the rest of their lives, really, where now it's a new season, and we always respect the process and talk about our approach, which is, hey, how do we get here? It's through the summer weight program, it's through our camps, then it's just one game at a time.
Right.
where we told them last year, I think we. And I didn't realize this. I think somebody pointed out to me. We trailed briefly in week 1, and then we didn't trail again in any game until week 6. And so that was something that, again, we don't sit around and talk about that as a goal. It's kind of naturally happened. And so these guys, and they're able to talk that to our younger group, where, hey guys, it is just 1-0 for this week, and then again we break it up into thirds throughout the year. And so that's been really good. And really, that's something we as coaches make sure we don't try to reference too much back in the past, and talk too much about last year, because it's a new year, it's a new team.
Right. And a lot of these guys moving forward through the youth level in the middle school, like we said, what you did when you got here 6 years ago now, was asserted yourself into that youth program.
Yeah.
So what they learn in that youth program is what you're teaching the guys on Monday through Thursday.
Yeah.
So a lot of the numbering systems, your holes and stuff like that, everything's the same. So it makes it easier when they get to you if all of those coaches are using the same system too. So that's where everything kind of folds in and finds its spot. So, all right. So Wildcats, you return for your 6th year.
Yes.
And Danny Morrison, I believe, is on year 6
He's on year
with
6.
you.
Yep.
He is the offensive coordinator. And Leon Miller, we mentioned already, 2nd year, come over from Adrian last year. He's a defensive coordinator. Introduce us to a couple of the other guys that we've got there.
Yeah, and Coach Parker, honestly, he's been here the longest. And he was here when we got here. And I can't tell you the exact number of years that he was here prior, but 10, 12 total, I think, something around there. Does a great job with our offensive line. And then Coach Gershaw, we were able to get from Lamar. Again, his 2nd year, works with our D-line, teaches history, just does a phenomenal job. High-intensity guy.
I've seen that.
Yes. And then Coach Dombaugh. Coach Dombaugh joins us. He's been at Sherwood the last few years. Family lived over in Clinton. We're excited not just for him, but for his family. Both him and his wife work for the district, bring their kids with
And
them.
I understand he's got a 7th grade football player too.
Yes, he does. But it's such a neat staff. I forget it. I was actually kind of looking through our script here, and it dawned on me, every coach that we have on staff at some point in their career has been a head coach of a program. And so it's nice when you can have that type of experience where, they know how to conduct themselves and what's expected. And
from a leadership role,
yes,
that plays huge when you're splitting up into position groups and stuff like that.
Yeah, these guys 100%. I never have to worry that whatever we discussed and what we have on the practice script they're doing, and 100% always.
So do you get to do like Andy Reid does? Do you get to go way up in the box and you just watch them do their work?
I'm not quite there yet. Not quite there yet at all. But no, it's neat, and it's like I said, we're very blessed, very fortunate, and like these guys, they do a great job, and it's neat to see too, because we have our middle school up there practicing, and there'll be times Coach Hartman will ask, Coach Miller or Coach Morrison or just somebody, hey, can you pop down and work with our guys a little bit on different concepts, and and they do that, and they understand the importance of that.
And within a year or two, they're going to be
Yeah.
there on Friday night. So, all right, we're going to take our first commercial break here. We'll come back and we'll talk about the offense, and then we'll get to the defense. And we're back on week 1 of the Coaches Show, sponsored by State Farm Insurance, Susie Broderson, Shelter Insurance, Leanne Beeman, Community National Bank and Trust, J&D Pharmacy, Pitts Homes, and Tracy Spry and Associates CPA. So, Coach Boyer, we just talked about recapping the 21 season. We introduced the coaching staff this year. We want to take this time now. We want to get to know some players. So, looking forward to the 22 season. We graduate an All-Stater in McGann on the line. We graduate an All-State quarterback in Brady Slavens. Graduate Gavin Cunningham. We mentioned him. But we bring back a lot of experience on both sides of the ball, actually. I believe, and I'm going to refer to the preview since.
All good.
So we returned 20 Letterman, and I believe there was 6 on offense, 8 on defense starters returning.
Yeah.
Now, under center is a guy you're familiar with, I guess we can say.
Yeah.
But he's going to come in his senior year. He's going to start at quarterback. Introduce us to Tayton Boyer.
Yeah, Tayton last year was, he was a receiver coming in, and then James Kellner got injured in our jamboree, and so we needed him to step into that tight end role. He stepped in, did well there, and like I said, was our backup quarterback to Brady, and did see a little bit of action. There were a few times there where Brady had to take him out for whatever reason and plug Tayton in, and so he had a little bit of experience. But to that, he's done well in that transition. Put in a ton of work in the off season, and obviously he's familiar with his backfield and his teammates and things like that. And so, to him and to all the guys, it's this year, I think we'll have a little more balanced approach as far as, and we don't care about stats, but who's getting how many carries and how many yards. I think you'll see it a little.
Yeah,
more.
when we mention any of these guys, you and I visited in the offseason about that, where we have a backfield. Both guys ran for over 500 yards last year, but if you ask them how many yards they have, I guarantee you neither of them could have told you.
No.
so nobody cares about being a 1,000-yard rusher. At the end of the day, it's the result at the end of the game, and that's whether it's a win or not.
Without a doubt.
So Tayton jumps in. He takes over at quarterback, and big shoes to fill there.
Yes.
Not that he's not capable, but big shoes to fill there, right? Because Brady Slavens graduates. We mentioned him as an All-Stater. He accumulated 32 total touchdowns last year. That's a lot of offense. I think 62% of the offense went through Brady. But the offense also 293 yards rushing, 106 passing. So we're not looking to use his arm a ton, only when it's needed. But hand the ball off, make the right reads, and really that's his responsibility, right?
It is, and that's what we told him. I mean, the same thing we told Brady, where it's, hey, take what they give you.
Don't make it harder than it is.
Yep. Guys are going to work for you.
And the quarterback position, even at the high school level, is hard enough without making it harder than it is.
Without a doubt.
So joining Tayton there in that offensive backfield, we returned 2 seniors. Nick Bagley, a senior, he's a returning starter, and Gage Whitaker, also a returning starter. I think both of those guys caught a touchdown through the air last year. I think total, I believe the number was 15 total touchdowns on the ground. So both of them ran for over 500 yards. Nick, I think, with all respect to Gage, because I know Gage likes contact, but Nick, a lot of a downhill runner. Puts his head down, gets the tough yardage. Gage, what I've seen from him is in the offseason at 7-on-7s is maybe a little bit more explosiveness than we've seen in the past. So talk to us about Nick and Gage.
Yeah, both those guys, they're similar, but they're different in their running style and their playing style. And both have put in so much work in the offseason in the weight room. And, with Nick, I think his style of play on both sides of the ball, you can see the wrestler in him. Low center of gravity.
Very physical.
And with Gage, again, downhill runner, very physical. But you're right, I think in the offseason, and we see it in practice, he's really that cutback lane, those jump cuts and things like that. He's done very well with. But it's so neat to see those two work together, And again, very much a brother type bond where they take as much pride blocking for each other as they do running.
And these guys, these two in particular, I know, have played from their youth days all the way up to their senior year now. So it's not the first time they've been on the field together. Last year wasn't either. They've got to be going on 8, 9 years probably
Right.
they've been playing
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
So another offensive weapon that we have to talk about is senior wide receiver Cameron Sievers. Now, Cameron comes back this year after several postseason honors. I think he went for 740 yards and 11 total touchdowns. 9 of those were through the air. I'm going to go on record as saying snubbed by the All-State Committee. Probably should have been there. As far as a downfield threat, he was the most prolific that the Wildcats had last year. But probably considered, I would have to consider him probably one of the most underrated players in Class 2. Has to be, if he wasn't named to that All-State team last year. But tell us what Cameron brings to the table.
I'll tell anybody, this is my 14th, 15th year coaching between assistant and head coach. And as an all-around football player, he's probably one of the top 5 guys I've ever coached. And that's just, like I said, offensively, defensively, special teams, just the motor he has. Cameron's a fast kid. If you time him on 40 times pro agility, he's top tier. If you ask him, he is the top.
Modest.
But his game speed is top. I mean, and he does such a great job. He's such a good leader in the classroom, on the field, off the field, and
what he brings to you too. And I don't get this from being on the sideline, but what I can see is a high football IQ.
Yes, yeah. You can tell him at once, but B, he's helping other guys, get lined up, and he's understanding what we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it. And like I said, he's a coach on the field, and just he's also one. I mean, you try to find ways to get him the ball,
right?
Whether it be through the air, whether it be.
And he's not slow.
No, and like I said, he's been out there. This is his 3rd year. He started as a sophomore at corner for us. I mean, he's 3-year started for us, and again, just we want to find ways to get the ball in his hands, and defensively, he finds ways to get it in his own hands.
And that's got to be a comfort to a guy like Tayton coming in his first year under center.
Oh yeah.
That says, hey, all I have to do is get him the ball.
Yes.
Let me get it close, and he's going to go make a play
Yep,
for me.
he'll go get it. Yeah.
So, all right. Turning to some other guys that we may see on the field that will be some offensive contributors. Jace DePriest, sophomore, he lines up at tight end after playing guard last year, I think, and that was a reason. He's a freshman last year.
Yeah.
You're in need.
Yep.
And he says, sure, I'll go play if I get a chance to play varsity guard. So he goes there, but comes back to the skill positions this year. Ty Williams, a sophomore, and Nate Banfield, a sophomore. So some sophomores there in that class, and that's the only ones that I jotted down.
Yeah.
But tell us if there's others.
Well, Nate's actually a junior, but yeah, Ty started corner for us last year as a true freshman. Jay started guard, and then the season went on. He ended up in that middle linebacker role, and so now you'll see him. He'll play that tight end. If we get into our wing T set a little bit, he'll be that third back. And if you ask him now, he'll tell you, having to play that guard has definitely made him a better football player all the way around, and
probably a better appreciation.
Yes,
for those guys.
Yeah, and now I mean you're out that tight end. You're not necessarily going against a 300-pound D tackle.
Right.
You're doing some other things, and so both those guys have done a great job. Ty, he plays, he starts receiver for us, but he can also spill those guys in the backfield. Just kind of again, just a weapon to have, and it's neat. It's like we talked about the youth. I can remember, watching him play back in 5th grade, and so to see him kind of grow into what he is now, it's a neat deal.
And then we've got some other younger guys that, and I say this at the risk of forgetting someone, but somebody that might shine in some time this year. Shane Porzer, I've seen him line up at the wideout. We've seen Garrett Ferguson at a backup quarterback spot. I'm going to guess, see some time at specials and stuff like that this year, maybe some defense. Anybody else that we need to keep an eye on during the offseason? Do you need to see my pictures?
Well, it's like I said, you hate to start name dropping because you are going to forget somebody, and that's a nice thing. We do this every week, so hopefully by the end of it,
we'll at least get everybody mentioned at some point.
Oh yeah, and they're sophomores, and there's always, like we tell us freshmen, right? We hope that you don't have to see a ton of varsity time, but there are circumstances where that does happen, and if you're the best player for the position, then so be it. And so we're excited to see if some of those guys can contribute, and even if that be via special teams, it's again just a team effort with. I think we got 45, 46 guys out there, and so
right.
Yeah, there's a lot, and with all that, it's nice. You have competition everywhere. You know, it makes your practices go better. It makes guys not get complacent and just really compete each week.
Right. So success in the offensive scheme for the Wildcats requires an offensive line that can open some holes and move some defenders. So it doesn't have to take forever. But I quoted you by saying we're young up front, but they're a hardworking bunch. Wildcats return one offensive starter on that line, and that's Devin Bowl. He's a junior, right there. Okay, but tell us about some other guys there and what Devin can bring as far as leadership to that group, and who else is going to step in at some spots there.
Yeah, what was neat, you kind of go back the transition where Jackie Esser started center for us halfway, and then halfway through the year went down with a knee injury. Devin was able to step in. At guards we had Jason Gavin, and Jason's still kind of on the line, just different position. But with those two, we're able to show kind of going back to Coach Morrow days with the quicker guards, not having to have.
I think in 1990, we're going to go back.
Yeah.
Winning a state championship with a guard that weighed 145 pounds.
Yeah.
So be fast, do your job. Doesn't have to take forever.
Yep.
But do your job.
That may have been mentioned to motivate, and then and then at tackle with McGann and Taylor, and those guys did such a great job, and just anchoring those ends, and so going to where we're at now, like I said, Devin transitioning in, being that leader, having that experience, and then guys at the guard, that was the two spots, because at tackle with Wyatt James, Austin Scheibe, and now we've had Kendall Bagley actually step in, and just kind of a kid that wasn't on the radar for that position, but stepped in and has done an excellent job where that might free up a couple other guys. But then Riley Taylor, Cameron's little brother, he's playing guard there. And again, a guy that unselfish in that approach. He would probably be right in the mix for our running backs with his speed and his physicality, but he's doing what we need and what's best for the team. And then, at that right guard spot, we have a couple guys, competing for it. Dakota Todd, he's been in there doing a great job for us. And even Peyton Painter, he got a little dinged up. He was in the mix kind of for all this. And Cade Banks there as a freshman, he's been giving guys a run for his money. And so, through that, we've had guys kind of get dinged up a little bit, which you don't like to see. However, it gives opportunity for some of these other guys to step in, and let's see what they're about.
So several sophomores, and even you mentioned a freshman, that are trying to eat their way onto that line.
Yes, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, and a couple notes on Bagley and Taylor. Bagley's no stranger to the trenches, right? Because we saw him play on the down line there on the defensive side of the ball last year as a freshman. And then Taylor, probably, we talk about Seaver's football IQ, but if we talk about motors, Riley Taylor has one speed.
Yes. Yeah. He's very, very explosive. And that's what we tell him is you're very explosive. And the nice thing after coaching those guys last year, where you got two guys that are, fast 40 guys. They're 4'6", 4'8" guys, and we used to joke with it. We joke about it now. They would pull. Well, they would miss. They'd run right by the guy. They'd pull and trap the corner. And so, you're able to tell them, hey, you don't never want to say slow down, but just under control and then be explosive. And due to having those guys, it really helps, with Riley and some of the other guys that we're working with.
And then another position of I don't want to say concern or need, but another position that I just noticed that I didn't cover in the preview is the kicking game.
Yeah.
So Wildcats fortunate last year to have a player in Thomas Huiveld, an exchange student, came over and actually had a kicking game last year. I mean, we weren't afraid to go for a field goal or a point after try instead of lining up for two. Who might we see sharing some kicking duties or handling that position?
Yeah, and when we're talking field goals and extra points, we've been very fortunate. Scott James is our new superintendent. With him, his
That's
son,
why we're mentioning his name.
his son Logan is a sophomore for us, and although Logan doesn't have a ton of experience in playing football, just in the school that he grew up in, they did have soccer, and he has a lot of experience kicking, and he's done a great job transitioning into football. But he's a big leg kid, and he is only a sophomore. And Nate Banfield's a kid that he's out there, and with Thomas last year, he worked a lot at it. So those two have been able to kind of push each other. And then, for our kickoff responsibilities, we have the barbarian, Cohen Walton. He'll actually be his 4th year in kicking, and again, and he's done a great job working with Logan too to be able to do some things there. So yeah, it's neat. And we're fortunate, like I said, we had Thomas last year, and he kind of lit a fire there. Once our kids were seeing our crowd going crazy over field goals, and things like that, which is great because it allows another opportunity for another kid to be a part of our program.
Right. So let's switch gears here. We're going to move to Coach Miller's defense because he would be remorse if we did not talk about his defense. So they say offense sells tickets and defense wins championships, and Coach Miller may be the biggest believer in that.
Yes.
So again, bringing back a lot of experience on that side of the ball. I think we said 8 returning starters on defense. So that being led by a linebacking core, of Nick Bagley, Gage Whitaker, a lot of these names the same, Jace DePriest, and Tayton Boyer, maybe at that linebacking core, all seniors except for DePriest, who's a sophomore, but all kinds of experience.
Yeah, and especially at the linebacker, it's experience and it's depth to the point where you have guys you want to get on the field, and so we've been able to kind of move some guys around to whether it be down to D end or with Tate playing quarterback. He's kind of more of that strong safety, walk down monster type linebacker. But yeah, it's been neat. But right there at the heart of it again is you have Gage and you have Nick Bagley, and just a great one.
And we talked about their physicality.
Yeah.
On the offensive side. Now put them on the defensive side.
Yeah.
I don't know that you probably want to run and see them waiting for you in a hole probably.
They just do a great job, and that's something that we always preach to our middle linebackers is you're the heart of the defense. You're getting the calls out. You are right in the middle of it. You're making sure D-line's aligned. You make sure the secondary's getting their call out. And those guys, it's just neat to see how much they've grown and matured and taken on that role. And now kind of looking at it all, Drake Merle, he stepped up, to that outside linebacker position. And, the other, Riley Taylor, he's kind of stepped up, moving, Jace down. He's playing a little more DN for us now. James there and Devin there, on your D-line. Kendall Bagley back on it. Cade Stevenson, he's moved in. He's right there, that linebacker D-line type. We call them kind of hybrid guys. And so those guys, again, it's just so nice. And in Hudson Carr being right there too. They provide depth and they push each other. Hudson and Oliver Robertson, they're pushing those guys. And if they need a spill, it's nice. They can give them one. Secondary wise, bringing back Ty and Severs at corner, it's always nice, and especially with their ability to just lock people down and truly man cover. And
it would probably be hard to find a quicker duo of corners in the area in Ty and Cameron. And Cameron actually comes off of had 6 interceptions last year.
Mm-hmm.
Ty comes in as a freshman, played last year.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to a big year from him because he has a lot of the tools to be a lockdown defender.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and then of course you get Banfield coming back on that side of the ball too. Mm-hmm. He stepped in and had to play when James got hurt last year. And then we go on that defensive front. I'm assuming a lot of the same names, but Wyatt James, another kid, a junior, a big long kid. I mean, has to cause some mismatches for some guys up front.
Yeah, Wyatt's a 6'3", 240-pound, and just like I said, I never measured his wingspan, but
it's long.
Yeah, he is, and we've seen that his frame. And last year he did a great job there, and just so many of those guys, him and Riley Taylor, and so many of them, just we call them being a spark plug. Whether that be for a series or for a couple series or maybe just a couple downs, but popping in, doing their responsibility, getting that experience, and now being able to lean on them a little bit more and. Yeah, it's like I said, it's neat to see, and it's neat to see some of the younger guys pushing them and competing for the spot.
And Coach Miller's defense, pretty impressive last year. So 16 points per game, and then came up plus 12 on the turnover ratio. So, you always talk about being on the plus side there, points per game, keeping them out of the end zone. And that's how you win ball games. That's how you get to 9-2.
No, without a doubt. Winning the turnover battle, those are those little things and little stats. You want to win in all three phases, but that turnover battle, and we put a ton of work into those things where, hey, ball's on the ground, take advantage of it. Don't miss it, and even with, it's nice to break up a pass or knock a ball down, but it's way better just to actually intercept it.
Right.
And, they did a great job, and other secondary wise, Garrett Ferguson, he's done a great job stepping in at that other safety, giving us some more depth there, and back to Shane Poyser and Logan James there at corner, giving us some more depth. And again, especially early season, it ain't cooling off anytime soon,
right.
And injuries do occur, so it's good to see those guys in there that we can trust.
So the motto on the defense is fast.
Play fast, play physical.
Play fast, play physical, and that's what we expect to see out of the Wildcats this year. So we look at the offense, we look at the defense. We're going to take this break and come back with a few closing notes. And we're back for the Coaches Show, Week 1, Missouri State High School Activities Association football in Missouri. And Coach, Wildcats, again, canceled this week, are not going to Kansas City.
Are not going.
So we don't want anybody to make that trip and say, where's everybody at?
Don't make the trip.
So,
yeah.
And I guess we have to congratulate you, right? This is a milestone victory for you, right?
That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
So 50 career wins for Coach Boyer, the 50th coming by way of forfeit this week.
Little different.
So we'll wait and we'll make a cake for the 100th. How about that?
Okay, deal.
So, again, Wildcats canceled this week. Was to play Saturday, or they were to play Saturday up at Kansas City Central, taking on the Blue Eagles. That game, again, canceled. Do not make that trip. But that doesn't mean that there isn't other stuff going on. So we're actually going to have the football jamboree for the youth is going to be hosted on Sunday.
Yep.
Touch on the youth program a little bit. We'll use them again in another program, but let's touch on those guys a little bit.
Yep, this Sunday, and originally it would have been Saturday, but when it's supposed to be playing.
We all thought we had plans.
Yeah, exactly. So Sunday afternoon, early afternoon, I think it's 2 or 2:30. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to double check. But yeah, they're jamboree. They're just like us. They're getting ready to kick off their season. Little ones, first, second grade, they'll be playing flag, and then third and fourth, fifth and sixth be playing tackle. It's neat. You want to see a lot of football all at once because we play them across the field. So there's up to 3 games going on at the same time. Come out, you get to see the future Wildcats.
And the Chiefs don't play this Sunday.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing anything else, go out there, support those youth guys, watch those kids. There's nothing they like better than playing in front of a crowd.
Oh, without a doubt.
And all 3 groups, a flag group, third and fourth, and fifth and 6th, they're all defending championships.
That's true.
From their leagues last year. So they're all returning champions. So good groups going on out there. Also, coming up Monday, the season opener for Warsaw football, Wildcats JV will host Buffalo.
Yes. JV football at home, Buffalo at 5:30. Conference opponent. We actually moved that up because at the end of the year, you're getting ready for playoffs, and a lot of people aren't playing JV, so we bumped that up to week 1. So, yeah, that'll be, these kids, our JV team, they're putting as much time as our varsity. They've been working their tail off, and they're ready to hit somebody else. And so yeah, it'll be exciting. We'll all be out there and look forward to see them in action.
And we can't leave the other programs out where volleyball will go to Stover, I believe, tonight. Yep. That's where they will play their jamboree before kicking off their season next week also.
Yep, correct. Yep, Coach Brosnan has done a great job with those girls, and look forward to seeing them.
And we're going to touch now on a few coaches. Since we had the cancellation, we were all prepared to talk about the big ball game on Saturday. Instead, with it being canceled, we're going to take the time to kind of visit about some of the coaches and kind of fly through them. Hopefully, we can start having these guys on a little bit more once in a while, too. You entering your 6th year for Wildcat football, but looking at some other fall programs, Coach Banfield returns to take over the cross-country team.
Yep.
And then a new volleyball coach in Kelsey Brosnahan this year. And then we're going to go by season. So
Yeah.
we'll look at cheer. I believe Amanda Adler takes over the cheer program.
She joins it.
Okay.
Coach Steinhoff is still in charge of it, but Miss Adler has joined on the staff and been helping out a lot.
And then we have Coach Thomas, or Mr. Thomas,
Yep.
that leads the band.
Correct.
So,
Yes.
so Coach Brosnahan came over. She was actually an assistant for the volleyball program last year. She bumps up.
Yes.
And really, I think those girls have been working hard to try to improve on some pretty dismal years.
Yeah.
And then Coach Banfield returns, I think, one senior, maybe two
I
seniors.
think that's right. Yeah.
Shockman comes back. I know Montez comes back. And then has a lot of young kids in there, sophomores and freshmen coming back. And then Brosnan kind of in the same boat. She returns 5 or 6 seniors, I believe, and then turns around and looks to a lot of youth and a lot of young kids too, because the junior and sophomore numbers are down just a little bit. But hey, if you want to see that, pick up the Enterprise this week. Fall sports preview, all out this week. So check out those articles covering Warsaw, Lincoln, and Cole Camp there. Switching gears to the winter season. I guess a new old coach in the boys basketball, Coach Brownsberger, makes his return. And then girls basketball led by Coach Matt Henderson, and then wrestling, a new coach in Justin Wisdom.
Yep. And like I said, this for Coach Brownsberger, I think this year 20 for him. He's here for his first 4 years. And then went away, and we're able to get him and his wife. She teaches also, and their family back. And really excited about that. This will be year 2 for Coach Henderson. And then Justin Wisdom joins us, coming to us from Willard. A lot of experience. I believe this is his 15th year in education. And just does a tremendous job. And he'll be working with our middle school and our high school. And been able to add on Aspen is what I call her, but Aspen Longworth. Sorry, I don't want to say it wrong. But she joins us to add. We have girls wrestling, but add a girls coach for our girls wrestling program. So we're excited to see that.
Great. So all the programs growing, becoming a destination maybe for some coaches.
Yes.
Then switching gears here, we go to the spring, and nobody new here.
Yep.
So we bring back Coach Johnny Ironman for baseball. Softball will be Megan Dulesky and Kelly Ironman, and then bringing back Coach Cody Morgan, to lead the track program.
Yep. And Dennis. Coach
And
Larson.
Dennis Larson for the golf.
For golf.
So,
yep.
yeah, that was written down there way small, right?
Yep.
So, so a lot of good things going on in the athletic department here. Coach, we're all disappointed that we don't get to go to Kansas City on Saturday. Probably nobody more than you. But hey, you get to stay home and watch college football, right?
There you go. There you go.
And then hey, tonight you can catch the Chiefs on, right? So I think Thursday night football with the Chiefs. Right? Brought to you by State Farm Insurance, Susie Broderson, Shelter Insurance, Leanne Beeman, Community National Bank and Trust, J&D Pharmacy, Pitts Homes, and Tracy Spry and Associates CPA. I'm Adam Howe, your host, signing off for week 1. Coach Boyer, thanks for joining us. I'm going to the house.
This has been a BCE TV production. Thank you for watching.